Watch this clip. This is a short clip of a short clip, and just watch it, and hold on to how you feel about it.
We are going to enforce the trade deals that we have, and we're going to hold people accountable. When I was Secretary of State, we actually increased American exports globally 30%. We increased them to China 50%. So I know how to really work to get new jobs and to get exports that help to create more new jobs.
But you haven't done it in 30 years, in 26 years.
Well, I've been a senator, Brenda, and I've been a Secretary of State, and I have done a lot.
It's one of the worst trade deals to ever happen to the
that is your
manufacturing
opinion.
industry.
That is
you
your
go to
opinion.
England, you go to Ohio, Pennsylvania, you go anywhere you want, Secretary Gordon, and you will see devastation where manufacturers down 30, 40, sometimes 50%. NAFTA is the worst trade deal maybe ever signed anywhere, but certainly ever signed in this country, and now you want to approve Trans-Pacific Partnership. You were totally in favor of it. Then you heard what I was saying, how bad it is, and you said, I can't win that debate. But you know that if you did win, you would approve that, and that would be almost as bad as NAFTA.
Well,
nothing will ever top NAFTA.
That is just not accurate.
So, the more politically savvy amongst you know what that was. That was a part of one of the presidential debates of the 2016 campaign. I think it was the first one, but I'm not 100% sure. But with the roles of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump gender swapped. However, you may not know what this is from. This clip is of a rehearsal of a play called Her Opponent, which played at the Provincetown Playhouse in late January. After the second presidential debate in early October, New York University Associate Professor of Political Science and Economics Maria Guadalupe had an idea. What if the genders were swapped? What if Trump was a woman and Hillary was a man? What if you put the exact same words, the exact same mannerisms, the exact same sequence of events that occurred in the presidential debates, but with the only difference being the genders? Maria Guadalupe thought she had the answer. She reached out to a theater professor named Joe Salvatore, who specializes in ethnodrama, which is where you take real events and portray them on stage exactly as they happened in real life based on existing video and first source documents. Together, they coached the actors on how to mimic Trump and Clinton's mannerisms, inflections, movements, and speech patterns. Actress Rachel Horton played Brenda King, aka Femme Trump, and Daryl Embry played Jonathan Gordon, aka Male Hillary. So, what did Maria Guadalupe, Joe Salvatore, the actors, and various other people involved with the production believe that this play was going to show? Oh, come on. You know the answer. All of the people involved are New York, college-educated leftists in good standing. They believed, at the start of this whole thing at least, that this would prove that Trump's aggressiveness and lack of refinement would never be accepted in a woman, while Clinton's preparedness and command of the issues would seem even more admirable in a man. But, of course, life is strange, and things don't always work out the way you want. It seems even during rehearsals that some of the people involved started having their own biases checked. Joe Salvatore said that he started realizing that the male Hillary seemed to actually have the harder job, and that he started having a feeling of unease through production. Which, that would be the cognitive dissonance, buddy. And then, on January 28th, the play debuted. And now we get to the part that I really want to talk about. What happens when a bunch of New York liberals, who are all convinced that all Trump supporters are at least a little bit misogynistic, are forced to watch the same debate that we all saw, but with the gender swap? Does it confirm Professor Guadalupe's hypothesis that Trump's aggressiveness would never be tolerated in a woman? Well, I'll just quote the NYU website's article directly to answer that question.
Many were shocked to find that they couldn't seem to find in Jonathan Gordon what they had admired in Hillary Clinton, or that Brenda King's clever tactics seemed to shine in moments where they'd remembered Donald Trump flailing or lashing out. For those Clinton voters trying to make sense of the loss, it was by turns bewildering and instructive, raising as many questions about gender performance and effects of sexism as it answered.
To be clear, the audience didn't necessarily like Brenda King, aka Femme Trump, but many of them found that they could understand her message. Femme Trump had a message that was clear and direct. Her constant attacking and interrupting made her seem stronger to a lot of audience members. One woman who saw the play said that when Femme Trump was attacking,
I had so much respect for her and her level of confidence.
Likewise, a man said,
I was struck by the strength of the technique of the Brenda King character. Attack. Consistently attack. Never stop attacking.
According to Joe Salvatore, a common reaction was something akin to, "Now I understand how this happened," which is to say that the audience members understood how Trump won. When it came to male Hillary, aka Jonathan Gordon, on the other hand, the audience reaction seems like it was, on the whole, less approving. One woman described him as really punchable, while the NYU News article asked,
"What was Jonathan Gordon smiling about all the time? And didn't he seem a little stiff, tethered to rehearsed statements at the podium?"
As I quoted earlier, many of those in attendance struggled to find what they had admired in Hillary Clinton in her spear counterpart. Some audience members did not react well to the play. According to Salvatore,
people got upset. There was a guy 2 rows in front of me who was literally holding his head in his hands, and the person with him was rubbing his back. The simplicity of Trump's message became easier for people to hear when it was coming from a woman. That was a theme. One person said, "I'm just so struck by how precise Trump's technique is." Another, a musical theater composer, actually said that Trump created hummable lyrics, while Clinton talked a lot, and everything she was true and factual, but there was no hook to it.
Now, I find this whole thing really funny. Maybe not ha-ha funny, but really funny. A bunch of New York college leftists put on a play hoping to confirm their groupthink, but found that the project challenged their own prejudices and bias. They put this play out for public consumption amongst what I would imagine were a bunch of other New York leftists who also wanted to have their groupthink confirmed, but found that the cognitive dissonance was so great that apparently some of them almost had a nervous breakdown. Now, I may be reading too much into this, but it seems as though many of the people who put this on and later saw it had a strong prejudice that the only reason that anyone could prefer Trump over Hillary was that they were sexists. They thought that the triumph of Trump's aggressiveness over Hillary's polished blandness was a symbol of the deep-rooted sexism of our society. And they expected that when they embodied the exact same message in a woman, that this would be made plain. Any Trump supporters would be exposed as the hypocrites that they supposedly were. But what did they find instead? They found out that they were the prejudiced ones. For me, this is the money quote right here. This is from director Joe Salvatore while he's being interviewed by NYU News. Here it is.
"I was surprised by how critical I was seeing Clinton on a man's body, and also by the fact that I didn't find Trump's behavior on a woman to be off-putting. I remember turning to Maria at one point in the rehearsals and saying, I kind of want to have a beer with her. The majority of my extended family voted for Trump. In some ways, I developed empathy for people who voted for him by doing this project, which is not what I was expecting. I expected it to make me more angry at them, but it gave me an understanding of what they might have heard or experienced when he spoke."
This is something that every single leftist and progressive in the entire world should take note of. I hear a lot from the left that my side, the right, the Republicans, the conservatives, needs to listen to quote-unquote marginalized people and to develop empathy for people who supposedly don't have a voice. And yet when I hear them actually describe what empathy means to them, what they seem to mean is something like this. You, member of my outgroup, must be tolerant and empathetic towards members of my in-group, and if you can't demonstrate that empathy, then I have no obligation to be empathetic to you, or members of my outgroup in general, because you have not demonstrated the level of empathy towards my in-group that I deem acceptable. Which is to say that these people who hold up tolerance and empathy as virtues do not actually seem to possess this virtue themselves in a lot of cases. If they did, then they would be supremely empathetic towards everyone. They would constantly be trying to understand the points of view of people who are the most unlike them. They would be able to articulate views that they considered abhorrent or hateful, not because they agreed with them, but because they are able to put themselves in the shoes of someone who really would think this way. And I'm not saying that there's nobody out there like this. You know, I've met a few of them that I would consider more or less like that, and in general, most people aren't even stridently political, so it's kind of irrelevant. But if this were the case for especially the college-educated, tolerant, empathetic left in general, then you would not be seeing the meltdown that has been going on for the past 5 months. They would have said, well, I'm disappointed that this result happened, but I can understand the point of view of those who made it happen. Instead, all I hear from the left is something like, hate won, and that this is just the death rattle of an aging white America who's resistant to real change, and that Trump voters are motivated by sexism, racism, xenophobia, homophobia, Islamophobia, and whatever else they want to throw in there. And yet when a number of leftist theatergoers went to see a play that they thought would confirm their prejudices, they found instead that they had to confront their own prejudices. And it seems to me that if those people had not seen this play, most of them may well have gone their entire lives thinking that a major reason people preferred Trump to Hillary was because of sexism. Another thing I didn't understand, a lot of Hillary supporters seemed hell-bent on making the election to be some kind of statement about gender. And some of them still seem insistent on that, with the whole Women's March and the Day Without Women and whatever. And that Hillary's ascendancy was supposed to somehow be the ascendancy of all women. Now, this was dumb on its face. Although most major political figures end up becoming some kind of symbol, Clinton represented nobody but herself. And frankly, why would you want her to represent all women? Hillary Clinton, of all people? You couldn't have saved that arrow in your quiver for somebody less objectively terrible? I remember hearing more than once from self-proclaimed experts that when people reject Hillary Clinton, that they are really rejecting the female authority figures from their childhood. The overbearing mothers, their smothering aunts, their intrusive middle school vice principals, whatever. It makes you wonder if the people that thought this ever actually listened to Trump supporters, or even knew any. I never heard Trump supporters talk about gender, or at least not in the all-encompassing way that some Hillary supporters did. If one side constantly brings up gender, or race, or sexuality, and the other side doesn't that prove that the other side just simply doesn't care about those things? I'll tell you, just personally, what I saw in Hillary Clinton. For me, this election really was alien versus predator. No matter who wins, we lose. Hillary was the alien, and Trump was the predator. Every time Hillary gave her fake smile, or regurgitated canned DNC talking points from 35 years ago, or refused to express any kind of original thought, I didn't see my middle school vice principal, or whatever. I saw a xenomorph, a creature possessing great intelligence and cunning, but which acts out of pure instinct and habit, and lives only to serve the hive. You can't blame the xenomorph for acting true to form, but you can blame the moneyed interests that tried to harness the alien's power for their own nefarious purpose. Meanwhile, the predator, even though he's ruthlessly self-interested, you at least know that he has a code of honor, even if that code is inscrutable to most humans. All things considered, it wasn't hard for me to choose the predator. Apparently, it was very difficult for actress Rachel Horton to portray Femme Trump. As a committed progressive herself, she found it difficult to articulate many of the things that Trump had said during the debates. But I applaud her for doing this. I applaud Maria Guadalupe and Joe Salvatore and everyone else involved in making this happen. I really want to see the full play now. Apparently they're trying to get wider mass media distribution, and I really hope they succeed. If it's really as good at challenging people's perceptions as the audience returns suggest, then it could actually serve a real social good. Hopefully, someday I'll be able to review the whole thing.